Yeah, hi, good afternoon guys. Mike here at Global Investments. I hope everybody's doing well today. Um, Guys, today I just want to talk about borrowing money, leveraging, and why, if you've got cash available, is it a good idea, and you've bought a house cash, why it's a good idea to leverage and take that money out. I'm sure you've heard the saying before, I've rolled that money, I've taken the money and I've used it again to buy a second house, leveraged, buy a third, a fourth, and so on. And that's kind of how people buy property portfolios. So I just wanted to talk you through an example with, let's say, for example, we have one client that has $100,000. Let's say they're based in France, for argument's sake, so they're overseas. So they have $100,000 to invest. What could they buy for $100,000? Well, let's say they buy a renovated duplex off me, or one of our renovation projects, which are really popular due to the fact that when the works are finished, in reality you're buying kind of instant equity, because when the works are finished, the property will be worth more than what you've actually paid for it. So it's a great way of earning instant equity, not waiting for the prices to go up, So let's say my client in France has bought this house for $100,000, they bought it cash. We go in, we renovate the property for you, and the management company will place tenants. So you have a renovated duplex, and it's cash flow, and the management company will place tenants. And you're $100,000 to buy the property. So how do I take that money out and do it again? Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you would speak to Christine at the mortgage shop, or Pablo or Dre, they're doing a fantastic job for us based in Miami, and they would talk to you about the logistics behind what you need to get the finance and so on. Now, a renovated duplex in Cleveland would appraise for around about $120,000. Maybe a little bit more depending on the neighborhood and the location and the condition and so on. But let's say, for argument's sake, again, the property appraises for $120,000. That means that Christine, because you're an overseas buyer, my French client is not based in the US, they're not domestic, they're overseas, they can borrow 70% of the appraised value. So 70% of an appraised value of $120,000 is $87,500, guys. So that means we can pull out almost 100% of the money that it's cost you to buy the house. So you're pulling out $87,500. So you're going to say, well, Mike, that sounds great. It's only cost me $12,500 to buy the house. It's actually cost you more than that, because there are costs involved to borrow the money. You'd have around about $5,000 in legal costs, obviously Christine's costs as well, and underwriting fees. So after you've leveraged and took the money out, so you take your $87,500, so it costs you $12,500 plus Christine's costs of $5,000, so you have a total down the bottom here of $17,500. So you have a cash flowing renovated duplex in Cleveland, and it's cost you $17,500. Okay, so we have $87,500 now in the bank, so we can go again. So again, you see where the phrase rolling the money comes from. So we started with $100,000, we're down to $87,500, but we have a house, cash flowing, giving us an income, a residual passive income. So we can take that $87,500. Now, what I don't want to do here, guys, I don't want to add money to it. So I'm starting with that original $100,000, and I don't want to add anything to it. So we're sticking with that $100,000. So we can't buy another duplex. So what do we buy? My suggestion would be we buy a renovation project, because they're the best type of investment to gain immediate equity, which is what we're trying to do here. So let's say you buy a renovated duplex from me, $78,000, which is about the average price for a single family home in Cleveland, one of our renovation projects. So again, we go through the same process. You buy the house cash. We go in, we renovate the property for you, we turn them over pretty quickly, like 3-4 weeks, and then the management company will place tenants. So you bought the second house cash, And we have, right now we have two properties. You have a renovated duplex, which is cash flowing, and you have a renovated single family home, which is cash flowing as well. So what do we do now? We do the same thing again. We speak to Christine at the mortgage shop. Now remember, you are going to have your costs, your underwriting fees, your legal fees and so on, which are around about $5,000. Now a renovated single family home in Cleveland would appraise at anything between, let's say, $100,000 to $110,000. So let's take the lower of the two figures. So let's take $100,000. Remember, Christine can lend you 70% of the appraised value, which is $100,000. That's an easy one. That's $70,000. So you've paid $78,000 for the house. And again, this is house number 2, remember guys, you're going to pull out $70,000. So it's cost you initial money in, $8,000, which is the money that's left over after you take the 70, plus Christine's fees of $5,000. So house number 2 is going to cost you all in, cash in, all your fees, all your costs, is going to be 8 plus 5 is 13. 13, I have to think about that for a second. So house number 1 has cost you all in $17,500, and house number 2 all in $13,000. So that's both houses. You have 2 renovated properties in Cleveland or in Detroit. Take it in Detroit if you want. Cash flowing, and all it's cost you. You started with $100,000, and all it's cost you now is $30,500, and you own 2 properties. Now we could go again and again with the money that you've got left over, but let's leave it at that for now. Now, so we own 2 houses. Your cash in is $30,500. Now let's look at the running costs, because remember guys, we have to look at the mortgages. How much is the mortgage going to cost me, Mike? What are my running costs? What's my tax? What's my insurance? What's my management? So let's take house number 1. So a renovated duplex in Cleveland would rent for, let's say, $2,500 a month. So that's $30,000 a year as your gross rent. You have your management fee, which is 10% of the gross rent. So in this case would be $3,000. Your tax and insurance, for argument's sake, tax $800 and insurance $800. Yeah. Your mortgage repayment. Remember, on this property here, we're borrowing $87,500. Your mortgage payment would be around about $641 per month. So that's a total annual cost of $7,692. So let's look at property number 1. We have a gross rent of $30,000. Your management, $3,000. Your tax, your insurance, $800, and you have your $7,692 as your mortgage payments on the $87,500. So that gives us a net figure down here of $17,708. So that's net after you've paid all of those costs, guys. Now let's move over here to house number 2. So house number 2 is a single family home. Remember, it's not going to rent as much as the duplex over here. So let's say we take a rent of around about $1,200. Potentially you might get a bit more than that, but I think $1,200 is a good figure. So your gross rent up here on house number 2, remember this is a single family home, is $14,400. Again, we have the same running costs as over here. We have your management fee, which is 10% of the gross rent, which is $1,440. That's correct, yeah. And let's say the tax and insurance, let's say it's the same as over here, $800 and $800. We have a mortgage payment on, how much were we borrowing again on here? We were borrowing $70,000. So your mortgage payment would be around about $575 a month, which works out at $6,900 per year. So let's look at house number 2. We have the gross rent at $14,400. We have your management at $1,440. You have your tax and insurance, the same as over here, $800 and $800. And we have a mortgage payment per year of $6,900. Now, let's look at the bottom figure, what we're going to end up with down here. So we have our gross rent at $14,400, less the $800 tax, less the $800 insurance, your mortgage payment 6,900 and your management fee. That gives us a net figure of $4,450, guys. So over here we have a net figure of 17,708, and over here we have a net figure of $4,460. So we have a net figure, guys. So this is putting both property 1 and property 2 together, which gives us a net income after, remember, we paid everything. You paid your management, your tax, your insurance and your mortgage payments, and that gives us a net figure of $22,348. So it's cost us, guys, remember, $30,500 to buy both properties, yeah? And we have a net figure, net rental income, after you paid all of your costs. Again, guys, remember, I'm not taking into consideration vacancy and maintenance. You have to look at those things. But let's look at these. We can't say what vacancy is going to be. We can't say what maintenance is going to be. And again, they're the two risks involved in buying real estate. So that's something else that we can talk about another time, and how to minimise those risks. But again, if we look at the sorry, I'm lost myself a little bit there. If we look at the what it's cost you, which is the $30,500, and your net figure of 22,348, that gives you a return on your cash in of 73% on your money. That's right, 73%. And that might sound crazy, because where can you earn 73% on your money? Well, even if you take off, I don't know, 15, 20, 25% for vacancy or maintenance, you're still making 50% on your money. So that is the reason why, leveraging, borrowing money, using other people's money is a great thing. And it allows your initial investment. Remember, you could buy one house and you could pay $100,000 for it. And if you look at your net return would be, let's say, this is a really good example, guys. So your net return would be, let's say, $30,000 less the $1,600, which is your tax and insurance. I'm talking about a cash purchase here, and less so you'd be looking at around about 25% return. So by leveraging and borrowing the money, you buy it cash, you earn 25%. You leverage, you buy a second house, you've got a lot less money in. Remember, guys, you've still got a $70,000 pot or $65,000, $69,000 pot here of money that you can go again. So instead of earning 25% buying it cash, you earn 50% by borrowing and using the bank's money. So, guys, I hope that makes sense. It can sound complicated, but it's not really. You do the numbers, you do the maths, and it's a great way of building wealth. So I'm going to leave that with you guys. Again, I hope it helped. We've got a fantastic in-house finance department with Christine at the mortgage shop. And if you'd like to talk to us about it or talk to Christine about it, drop us a text, give us a call. We've got some great inventory this week in both Cleveland and Detroit. Remember, our renovation projects, if this is what you're looking at doing, our renovation projects are a great way of building equity. So I'll leave that with you guys. Like I said, I'm going to stick the website above, our Facebook, Instagram. Drop us a text, give us a call, and you guys have a great day.